Today we have to focus on at least finishing 4 5 pages. Otherwise, we are not going to finish in 6 months. I'm telling you. Okay. So let's focus on. Please explain what bhakti is. I think these are all over, no? Acceptance is a cheerful thing. Uh, when love backs our actions, which is page number 41, we never feel resentment. We never feel put upon. We never feel life to be a chore. This is especially true with meditation. Our hearts should call out for it. Practicing meditation should never be a matter of discipline or willpower. Please underline this. Practicing meditation should not be a matter of discipline or willpower. It's okay if you don't feel like meditating one day. It's natural. In that case, however, it is better not to do it. Suppose you tell your wife, darling, I'm using all of my willpower to sit beside you. That means the end of married life. No lover meets his beloved out of a sense of obligation. Think back to those days when you skipped school to meet a girlfriend. If she said, I will meet you at the movie theater at 11, you would be there by 10:30. Perhaps you would arrive by 10 just to test you. Some people regard meditation as a discipline. You see, they use willpower to get out of bed in the morning and meditate. Willpower is useless stuff. It means you don't have interest. So, what do you require to be regular in meditation? Interest. And you really look forward to meditation, you wake up automatically. You don't even you need to set an alarm. If you do not, if you do set one, you will wake up before it goes off. A joyful anticipation runs through your subconscious all night as you sleep, and by morning your heart is already dancing. You are in meditation even before you sit. It's because you are anticipating the meditative state. Of course, we cannot expect this attitude at the beginning. It takes some time for it to develop. Rather, it takes time for it to become conscious. Bhakti is innate, you see, but it is unconscious at first. At some point of time, though it surfaces to our conscious awareness, it becomes a sentiment, an emotion. But it cannot stay there forever. It's like a wave that surfaces just for a moment, it takes a breath and dives beneath the ocean waves again. So please remember, so bhakti comes to the surface on and off. So that's how it is. It's an underlying feeling that is there in the subconscious, occasionally rises to the surface, the conscious mind. Why does it not remain a conscious feeling? I asked. A love relationship consists of two, the lover and the beloved. However, when the two are there, there is also separation. They are distinct from one another, separate entities. This is inherent in the term bhakti. Bhakti is derived from the Sanskrit word bhaj. The word has varied meanings, but one critical, crucial meaning is separate. Without separation, without the distinction of the lover and the beloved, there can be no relationship at all. But if lover and the beloved remain distinct, love also remains an unfulfilled promise. There is no consummation, there is no union. Some people enjoy the state of longing. There is emotion in that longing. Perhaps they would prefer to stay there forever. However, we should not stay there. There is no utility in longing unless it leads to union. Alva? Very longing ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ ಇದ್ರೆ there are a lot of people who pray to God, life after life, I want to come and be your bhakta. What's the point of it? Right? The point of bhakti is union. If life after life you say that I want to be your bhakta and say that I will never become one with you, now this is the Dvaita method where God is separate, you are separate, and you are supposed to be in the bhakti in God. This is what many of the dasas have written, dasa sahitya. Purandar dasa, Kanak dasa, these dasa parampara that they came, no, they used to have this feeling, this sentiment. Bhakti does not lead to the highest. It does not take you to the center. bhakti falls short. Because the moment that the bhakti goes beyond the state of separation, because for bhakti to manifest, there should be separation. If there is union, where is the question of any bhakti? Who is devoted to whom once there is union? The lover and the beloved become one. In that case, the bhakti is no longer there. You have crossed the realm of the bhakti. Does it make sense? As long as there is devotion, there are two things. So the bhakta and the bhagavanta. But the moment the bhakti goes to the next stage, there can be no bhakti. Because the next stage of bhakti is union. That's why many people like this longing of that they feel, the kind of sentiment, emotion that they feel with this separation. And they want to stay in that state only. That's of no use. There is no utility in longing unless it leads to union. And in union, there can be no relationship either because they are no longer two. Lover and the beloved have now become one. This is the consummation of love. So in relationship, there is no togetherness, and in togetherness, there is no relationship. So please underline this. All relevant for people who are about to get married. Sorry. So in relationship, there is no togetherness, and in togetherness, there is no relationship. It is a paradox, said Daji with a smile. When lover and beloved become one, they lose their individual identities. They no longer have any distinction between them. So tell me, when there is no lover, who loves? And when there is no beloved, who receives the love? So you see, love is something that never really arrives. Now, this is another important point. Love is something that never really arrives. We approach it, and before we arrive, we have already transcended it. But we never pass through it. It gets closer and closer, and when it gets so closer, no, when it can get no closer, the whole business is already behind us. It's a mysterious thing. Now, this is very kind of difficult to understand, but he gives an example of mathematics. So I would want some of you to kind of just study what the example that Darji is given and come back tomorrow. This is the destination to which we fly on this journey. We call it union, but it's actually beyond union. How is it beyond union? I asked. Because union contains a subtle feeling that the two have become one, he said. But if there is any feeling of two, how can it be union? In real union, when the two have all truly become one, there is no idea of feeling of two. Hence, we never become aware that we have united with the beloved. We forget ourselves and the beloved as well. This state is beyond union. Yoga means union, so this state is beyond yoga also. We start with yoga, but we end up beyond yoga. Because the idea of the lover or the beloved, both are gone. Who loves whom? Nobody knows. For what? Nobody knows. Difficult? Very subtle. These topics are very subtle now. So I pause here. Everyone has become very quiet. I'll pause here. Then take 1 or 2 minutes. Any questions you ask in this?
Yes, brother. Especially when you said lover and even it becomes a beloved, when there is no union, but there is a feeling of this perfection and imperfection, right? Like he is a perfect being and we are an imperfect being. So we are walking towards the perfection. At that time, I think this difference is still continue to be there, right?
While walking, it is there. But when you establish yourself in perfection, as
Am I
long as
audible?
you think, as long as you think I am perfect, the perfection is still not full. In perfection, even that I should go. Awareness of that I am being perfect is also gone. Then you are perfect. Then the question comes, who is perfect? The idea about the perfection is also gone. The idea about he being perfect is also gone. The idea that I am imperfect is also gone. Then who is there? So there is a beautiful song on this particular aspect. If you listen to Carnatic music, there is this song on Sarvam Brahmamayam is the name of the song, sung by Balamurali Krishna. The lyricist is Sadashiva Brahmendra. So he wrote that song, Sarvam Brahmamayam. So it's about 8 minutes song. So if somebody wants to listen to that song, it's a very beautiful song. It kind of gives you a readable idea regarding how the highest state would be like. So if anybody wants to listen, I know that when I told people to watch movie, they all came back after having watched movie. I don't know whether you will also do the same thing. I asked you to listen to this song, Sarvam Brahmamayam. Re Re Sarvam Brahmamayam. That's the song. If you just type Sarvam Brahmamayam, Balamurali Krishna, you'll get it. 8 minute song. So this state is talking, that is exactly the same state is spoken about in that song. So you're asking something, Ganeshan.
Yeah, when we talk about union, like when we don't even know the differences that it exists, uh, but there is a feeling of perfection and imperfection. He is a perfect being, but whereas we are still on the path of being perfect. So this difference makes it that you are two individual, right?
You did not catch my point earlier on. I said during the course of the journey, you have two people, two, one imperfect, one perfect. What Daji is now talking about is a state when that union occurs. What happens at the level of the union? We go beyond the idea of perfection and imperfection. That is what he's talking about. That's what he's saying that when there is union, it is beyond yoga. Love never arrives. You before you know, you move beyond love. So that's why I paused here because this idea is very difficult for people to grasp. All of you know that if there are two, then there is union. This much we know. But what Daji is now saying is that in that union, once the awareness of that union is also gone, then you move beyond the union. So there are two ideas that he's talking about. Love never arrives. Then what comes? You transcend the idea of love itself. Now, perfection again, perfection never arrives. What exactly happens? Then you transcend the idea of perfection. That is what happens. So it's not a very easy concept to grasp. But I want you to ponder on this particular point. Go through it again once or twice during the course of today or tomorrow. Just think about it. Ponder on that particular idea. This is how we move beyond the realm of the Trinity. In Trinity, there is the lover, the beloved, and the love. Then you have the knower, the knowledge, and the act of knowing. So there are three things. The same thing with experience. You have the experiencer, you have the experienced, and the act of experiencing. Again, there are Trinity. Like you have the same thing in love, beloved, and the lover. When we reach the highest state, although we call it as union, what Daji is now trying to say is it is beyond union. So you cross all these three separations and then you end up into a higher state where even the awareness of these three is now not there. In that way, you don't have the awareness that I have merged into this. That idea is also gone. Then you are established in your original state, where the idea of all the three are gone. Then you are established in the original state. This is what the Upanishad also talks about, that you move beyond the three. For example, Turiya is a fourth state. It is called as the fourth state as far as consciousness is concerned. So you have the waking consciousness, you have the dream consciousness, and you have the sleeping consciousness. When you go beyond the three, you are established in the fourth state of consciousness, and that is what is called as Turiya. In other words, you take what is common across all these three states and get established there. That is Turiya. And that consciousness is the basis on which the waking state, the dream state, and the sleep state actually surfaces, or covered in three different coverings. So it's a very subtle point to kind of grasp. So if you're not able to grasp in one go, it's okay, nothing to worry. But just ponder about it. What exactly happens at the highest? Now, the idea that what you take, whether you want to take it as perfection, limitless, infinite, finite, whichever idea you take, you are finite, he is infinite, you are moving towards infinity. So there are three things. He is perfect, we are imperfect, we are moving towards perfection. Again, there are three things. So we cross all these trinities of ideas. Every idea has a kind of a trinity. A subject, an object, and something which connects the subject and object. So we start with the individual, then the universal, and then we cross beyond both the individual and the universal and get established in a state which is beyond these both. So initially we are in individual consciousness, moving towards a universal consciousness, and by the time we actually merge into the universal consciousness, you have crossed beyond that also. That is what he is talking about. Again, I'll pause. Any questions? But if it's the same question again, don't repeat it. So that all that it shows is that we require some time to ponder. That's all. Any other question you can ask now. It's like a batsman who doesn't know how to read a googly. He is bamboozled by the ball, by the bowling. So they don't know which way the ball is going to spin, whether it's going to come in or go out. Now, if the bowler bowls three googlies and then three normal leg spin ball, the batsman is totally confused. Which ball is going to turn which way? Your current state is something like that. What are you pondering?
Right now, I'm trying to think how would it be above universal consciousness? I think it's above mind, right? That's what you're
Above
saying.
mind. Yeah. In fact, to just kind of make it clear now, from individual consciousness, we move to universal consciousness. From universal consciousness, we move beyond consciousness. We go to the root of the consciousness,
Potentiality.
potentiality. And then we cross that also. Then we establish ourselves in the real state.
So are we not imagining here?
That's why I'm saying, don't imagine. Just take the fact and just live it. No need to imagine. When we reach that state, it will be very apparent to us. Now, if you want to apply your act of imagination, it will be very difficult to grasp. Because it's something way beyond our normal realm of imagination is something that we can do of a thing that we have already experienced. Generally. So we see some movie, we might not have experienced it directly, but in the movie we have experienced it, and then we imagine that we are also in the same situation. So in other words, imagination is always applied to something where an experience of that we have passed through in other ways. So this is nothing to do with imagination. This is not a state that you can actually imagine because you will not pass through this state in anywhere. That's why I gave you the closest example, which is the song. I said, just listen to this song. You might get a feel of that condition. How it is like. The Sarvam Brahmamayam song, which I said, it's there in Carnatic music, and you can listen to that. You will get a feel of it.
Because of the
But
vibrations
if you
of
are still not unclear, not to worry. It will become clearer and clearer as you go higher. You said something.
I mean, you said we'll get the feel of the condition. Is it because of the vibrations of the song?
Exactly. Exactly. So listen and see how it goes. Sarina. So park your thoughts here that although we try for union, before we know, we actually go beyond union in the ultimate state. Because the idea that we have united is also gone. Okay? So just have this particular thought. And then it should, over a period of time, it will become easier for you to grasp. Okay? Remember one thing, any idea that we find difficult to kind of grasp is because our level of consciousness, the subtlety of the consciousness has not grown to that level. That is all it is. Once the subtlety of the consciousness grows to that level, it makes sense. Till that time, we will actually have difficulty grasping that idea. That's all it is. Okay? So maybe it is quite possible that you probably will visit this particular paragraph even 1 or 2 years down the line. Quite possible. Okay? But that's all right. That's how we evolve. Nothing to worry. Okay? So let's continue. But yoga is a path that takes us there, I said. Yes, said Darji. Yoga is not a single path. It contains so many schools and philosophies. It's a hugely diverse system. There are these paths. Three of these paths are especially well trodden. They are Karma Yoga, Gnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. Although they are taught to different parts of yoga, they are not at all separate from one another. There are actually three aspects of one single path. This single path is Raja Yoga. Raja means king, so Raja Yoga means king of yoga. It incorporates the other three. We have started to explore the meaning of bhakti. Now let us take a brief look at karma or gnana yoga. Karma means action. It is broad term. If you want to be literal, we can call each and everything that we do to be karma. Tying your shoelaces is karma. Eating a sandwich is karma. But those things are not karma yoga. Karma yoga is the yoga of action. It is the action that we take in order to achieve the goal of yoga. So please underline this. What is karma yoga? Not all actions are karma yoga. That actions that you take to achieve the goal of yoga, that is karma yoga. This is a very important distinction. There is an old saying, and no animal jumps into the mouth of a sleeping lion. In order to achieve, we have to act. We have to do. But why do something? The path of karma yoga has traditionally focused on developing the quality of desireless action, nishkama karma, as it is called. In nishkama karma, you are supposed to act without thinking of any result. But without a result in mind, why would you act at all? Action comes only when you have a particular goal in mind. Yoga has a well-defined goal, and this goal demands action. So this is the same point that Babuji has actually spoken about in Reality at Dawn also. That not to get confused between Nishkama Karma and not having a goal in life. It is pertinent that everyone should have a goal in life and goal in spirituality. Just because you have a goal doesn't mean to say that it is not a Nishkama Karma. In fact, he says having a spiritual goal in life is the duty of every human being. Because that is why you are here for. Okay, so don't confuse having the goal in spirituality as against the idea of Nishkama Karma. It will not happen simply because you wish for it. Any action we undertake for the sake of attaining the goal now becomes Karma Yoga. Therefore, meditation is Karma Yoga. Now he's explaining the relationship between meditation and the different yogas. Now let us take a look at the Gnana Yoga. Gyan means knowledge, and so Jnana Yoga is the path of knowledge. But can it be enough to simply read books or philosophize? A rigorous intellectual process is not sufficient. By itself, it will not enable us to perceive the ultimate reality. Only meditation can achieve this. With meditative practice, the mind becomes an unfiltered medium, allowing only truth to pass through. So, what is the filter that we carry so that with meditation we become unfiltered medium? What is the filter?
Practice.
Sorry?
Practice.
As of now, when we start the practice, the mind is a filtered media. As you go higher in practice, the mind becomes an unfiltered media. So, what is happening? What is acting as filters?
Samskaras.
Correct. So, your experience of life is colored by your samskaras. That is acting as a filter. It changes the nature of your experience. But as and when the samskaras are removed, the mind becomes an unfiltered media. So, you can experience reality as it is. You can experience the world as it is. That is what happens. Okay? Only meditation can achieve it. With meditative practice, the mind becomes an unfiltered medium, allowing only truth to pass through it. Then our thinking no longer misleads us, but brings us to the right conclusions instead. Therefore, meditation also becomes Gnana Yoga as well. So this will be a question: how is meditation a Bhakti Yoga? How is meditation a Karma Yoga? How is meditation a Gnana Yoga? So in Raja Yoga, all these three aspects are incorporated simultaneously. Through meditation, we are also able to better understand the wisdom of others who have walked the path before us. Unless we meditate, such knowledge tends to go over our heads. It does not resonate with our experience, so we cannot relate to it. Often, a beginning meditator may read a spiritual book, but they may not understand much of it. If they read the same book after having meditated for some time, they'll start to find gems that they did not notice in the first read. Certain books, such as the books of Babuji, have so much depth that no matter how many times you read them, you will always find something new. Even after 4 decades, his teachings still reveal new things to me. So that's what I was talking about. So what we get out of any spiritual book depends on the fineness of the vibration of our consciousness. The more subtle the consciousness is, the more you are able to kind of get hold of the deeper levels of meaning out of it. From what you are saying, it seems like meditation facilitates both approaches. It facilitates dhyan and karma. It is the essence of both approaches, he said. It is through meditation that jnana and karma come to fruition. Bhakti also. So meditation is the key. These three themes, karma, gnana, and bhakti, are universal. In every spiritual movement, at least one or two of the themes is present. They may not be called by their Sanskrit names, but they are there. We find the combination of gnana and bhakti in nearly every religion. For example, almost every religion contains a scriptural element. They are the gyan, or the knowledge. Religions also tend to have a devotional element, which is bhakti. But not every religion offers a practice that would allow an aspirant to experience the truth of its scriptures for themselves and to have a real, non-imaginary experience of the object of their worship. Ganeshan. Real, non-imaginary experience of the object of the worship. That's what you were talking about. Is it imagination? So that is now making it clear. It is real, non-imaginary experience of the object of worship. In other words, even when the Gyan and Bhakti is present, there isn't always a fundamental element of Karma Yoga. Of course, every religion has its own rituals, and in the widest sense, those rituals do represent action or karma. After all, these rituals are undertaken by the seeker for the sake of coming closer to the deity. But in order to become conscious of the divine, consciousness must first evolve to a divine level. Please underline this. We will become aware of the divine when our consciousness evolves to the level of the divine. Without our consciousness evolving to the level of the divine, we will not become divine. Without a sound meditative practice that can accomplish this, the divine will always remain an abstraction to us. Which is why you remember one of the early days we spoke about the concept of understanding. In understanding, the two persons vibrate at the same level. Then you feel, I know about this. Likewise, what Daji has written here is by having vibration at a certain level. We are vibrating at a certain level. When we both vibrate at the same level and resonate, then we get a feeling, I know, we know. Till that time, some of the concepts will always have some degree of uncertainty or lack of clarity about them. So not to worry about it. They're all part and parcel of the journey. Having lack of clarity temporarily is a part and parcel of the journey because it shows that you have to evolve to that state where you can grasp it. That's all it is. Okay? So it is through practice that we gain Gnan. It is through practice that we nourish Bhakti. If you haven't come into real contact with the ultimate source, what kind of Bhakti can there be? You haven't experienced anything. You haven't truly known the divine. Without practice, Bhakti remains disconnected from its object. It becomes externalized. We think of God and our imagination starts working. Perhaps we imagine a glorious being seated upon a heavenly throne, or we conceive of an abstract source of power and energy. God exists, but until we go within and feel that presence, God remains a concept, a mental formulation. That is what we are trying to do in meditation. We are trying to go beyond the mental towards the spiritual. That is what we are trying to do. We want to go beyond the mental towards the spiritual, then towards the reality. That is the stages of our journey. And it is not based on our functioning of the mind. Imagination is a functioning of the mind. That is why in meditation, we have to keep the body and the mind quiet. Without learning to keep the body and the mind quiet and still during meditation, you will not be able to experience the divine in the way that you are supposed to experience. So today, I think everyone is very serious. I don't know. So I'll stop it here. I think we managed to complete 4 or 5 pages, which I was determined to do today, because otherwise we will lag behind. Okay.